welcome. It's me, Percita, and this is Percita's Paradox. I am so happy to see you. It is Tuesday. I am bliss, feeling fantastic on my Tuesday. Waiting to talk to you. Could not wait. Great weekend. Hope everything was fantastic with you and yours. If you're new to this channel, thank you so much for joining me, giving me your time when you could go to anybody's channel, to be perfectly honest. And of course, if you are an OG, you already know the rules of thank you, but let me just say it again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Without you, this channel would not thrive. I don't have any music and extras, and you just come and hear me ramble and love it, and I love you for loving it. Okay? So, let's talk. What do we talk about? Let's really talk about our connections, and let's talk about how important it is to really assess your connections on a weekly, I would say. I would love to say a daily, but sometimes things just get in the way, and it can be really complicated to really assess. And when I say assess, let me really back up and really define. The assessing of connections can really be tricky because of the simple fact we typically put time in front of our mindset when we think connections. But today, just for today, humor me. Give me a little bit of your time to make me believe that you're going to look at what a connection is beyond the premise of the length of time that you've known the person, been in the situation, or the relationship. So, here we go. When I think of connections, I felt like the Wiz, when I think of home. But anyway, when I think of connections, I really find myself understanding that I really have to make sure that my connections are in alignment with what I'm trying to do in the future. We so much think about what we're doing right now, right? I mean, we're in a absolute fast-paced, immediate reactional, receipt-having type of society. So when we think of things in regards to connections, we typically are, pretty selfish, and we're thinking about what we can do right now, right in the moment. We don't really always focus on the premise of we're trying to team up and we're trying to connect with people who are actually going to meet our future selves. And today I want to talk about that. I really want to talk about, are you really taking the time to understand that as you're growing and you're giving yourself this great accolade for wow, I'm doing so many things that are different and I'm really stepping out of the box and I'm really impressed with myself. Are you paying attention to if the people that are around you are actually doing the same within their own realm? Now, we say a lot. We talk a lot. You hear a lot about, if your friend's not cheering you on, then they're not your friend and da-da-da-da-da. I'm going to be real with you and just be honest and saying I don't really know very many people who can cheer a person on if they're not feeling as if they're in a place to be cheered. You find yourself being susceptible for looking for something that's not available in a person when they're not in that space. So I think it's very tricky to actually be looking for some sense of accolade from your friends, right? And these are people who love you. These are not even people who I would say are maliciously against you or in some sense of envy or contrite attitude. This is not it at all. They're just not in a space to really be able to give you this sense of accolade because typically they're going through something themselves, right? And, again, mental health has been a big push over the last, year. And we typically talk about it due to COVID and just the isolation of people. But let's just be honest, depression and that type of desire for people to aspire for a healthier mindset has been going on for centuries. We just are now giving it a name due to the fact that now it's become something that everyone has to address, right? But I still backtrack and say, or digress and say, it's very complicated to look for this sense of accolade from individuals when they're not there. So I don't know if I would tell you that my connection with my friends, specifically my friends, and I don't mean people that you talk to here or there. I mean people that you are really calling, like the people that are in your top 5. And if your parents are in your top 5, eliminate them and then tell me the people that are beyond them. So it might be your top 10, right? Those individuals, you really want to make sure that they're growing. And you don't necessarily need them to grow at the pace that you're growing. You don't need them to grow in a sense of trying to meet you per se. But you just want to know that they're growing so that they don't feel stagnant within themselves and you don't find yourself trying to belittle or play down the things that are working for you. And I think that's just something that we should talk about as a community, because it's very, very, very easy to slip up and find yourselves defending yourselves in your connections because you want to always feel like you're keeping it real, right? That's a colloquialism that the Black community says a lot. We're keeping it real, or, I remember where I came from, or, whatever you want to use as a caveat in being aware of the fact that you didn't always have it going on, right? I don't think it's about you dumbing down you having it going on. I think we have to learn to play that up. And I think we have to put ourselves in a position where we start to understand, if you don't put it up, that at some point you don't have anyone that's going to lift you up but yourself. So if you're not willing to do that, then you will find yourself falling backwards and falling into what's familiar, which is why it's so important, as I'm saying, to look at the people around you to really make sure that they're growing at their own pace so that they really don't have time to compare you to them. Now, I can say all of that because it sounds fantastic. I can hear myself and I hear my voice resonating in the room, and that sounds like a fantastic, fantastic plan. But here's the truth. Typically, you're going to grow, and you're going to grow faster than the people around you. Typically, you're going to be in a position where they're going to find themselves trying to pull you back. Typically, you're going to be in a scenario wherewith every level becomes a new set of individuals that can handle that level. It will boil down to your actual true connection, the real one, right? The one that's going to last throughout your lifetime, the one that's going to sustain that friendship, that situation, that relationship that will make it through year after year after year, when you're down, when you're up, and everything in between. They're typically the type of person that just really wishes you well. And they're not really the type of connection you can compare to any other connection. The other connections that are very time-stamped are not bad connections. So let me be clear. Like, I really hate when I hear people talk about connections and relationships and friends, and they put them in some type of a scenarios like, if you don't agree, that somehow the person wasn't your friend. I don't believe in that analogy per se, but I will say that if the individual or the situation or the relationship does not allow you to grow, then I believe that it's not really good for you. I don't know if I go as far as to say they're not your people, because you notice I didn't say friend, not your people, because we have different levels of connections, right? We have the constituent, and the constituent is the person who is actually believing in what you're believing in, and they want it to be successful because they agree with you and they want to connect with you because of that. You basically like something and you want to make that work. Then there are the confidant, and the confidant is the person who is going to be with you, like I said, through thick and thin. And then you have, I just said the constituent, and then I'm missing one. The confidant, the constituent, and the comrade. And the comrade would definitely be the person who is not in agreement with you, but then they're jumping on board with you because they want whatever you don't want collectively. Like you said, let's just say you both don't like people who, chew loud. So you both agree that that's something that you don't like. So you become each other's people for that reason, and you connect. So you want to really know, like, what's the connection that's keeping you together as well, which is why I say the assessing weekly is kind of interesting, because you can really see it. Now, again, weekly may be too much for a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. If you don't have the time, girl, guy, I get it. That's not what I'm saying. Use your timetable as you need to use your timetable, but assess. And assess as often as you can. If you look up and everything you're doing, the person is doing and trying to act like you didn't do it, then that's a really weird connection, right? You don't want people who are doing that. You want them to be able to actually have their own push or their own idea of what it is that they want in life. And in the exact same breath, if they're the type of people that can do that, but still give you a sense of Gratitude, that being whatever the circumstance is. It could be an outfit, it could be an opportunity, it could be a mate, it could be a car, it could be home, it could be anything, right? If they're willing to give you the accolade for it, if they're willing to say, like, you know what, Jane, I am so happy that you exposed me to da 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 da, it's a little different. Now, again, don't get me wrong, I'm not looking for them to like write it up on a piece of paper and skyrocket it all through the city. I'm just saying that typically a person who can acknowledge it to the individual instead of acting like, oh girl, I've always done that. Knowing that they literally got all that information from you, you want to check that. So that's what I mean by checking connections. Can it get tricky? My God, like anything else in life. Of course it can get tricky. Can you then, find yourself feeling a little less vulnerable to people? Probably so. But I think that that's also a scenario to think about when we're connecting. How fast are you connecting? How quickly are you utilizing the premise of like, we're friends? I mean, I know people who've never met and they've only, literally been communicating over Instagram and they're as close as two people can be. Some of that, I believe, comes from just the premise of like they're not in front of each other. And it's always weird how you can completely express yourself wholeheartedly, emotions and all, to people you don't know. A lot of that has the premise of you're not willing to be judged by people you do know, and to be able to speak to people you don't know just gives you the, anomaly of like, well, what can they really say, right? They don't know me and they can't judge me. Actually, it's the reverse, but we don't think about it that way. We feel like this person can't really tell anybody I know any of my business, so it doesn't really matter. So in saying that, you want to really be conscious of like, where do you identify your connections to be rooted? Are you a physical person? Are you a communicative person? Are you a experienced person? Sometimes people will say like they miss relationships and they don't miss I'm sorry. I told it before I was supposed to tell it. They don't miss the person, they miss the relationship. So in saying that, you could break up with someone, be it platonic or not, and what you miss is just the feeling of the void, be it a phone call or be it interaction with them that you no longer have, simply because you're not in that connection anymore. And you then think you're missing the person, but you then have to remember you complained about the person and their attributes the entire time, right? So you're not really missing the person, you're actually missing the literal relationship of what you've proposed the relationship to be with that person. So again, I am trying to give you every identity of connection I could tell you. You just want to assess. Everything should be progressive. If it is not progressive, you need to ask yourself why it's not progressive. If the progression is proprietarily only driven by you and what you're doing, you need to assess the connection. If the person is only looking to you to fuel them and they're not really giving anything back, meaning you're the bank and they're continuously taking things out of the bank but not depositing anything into the bank, then you want to be very aware of that connection and try to give it as little of your time as possible. Because I'm not a big proponent of just cutting people off unless, it warrants to just cut people in situations and jobs and things off. I have heard so many times now, everyone's coming back with like, they are ready to quit their jobs, girl. They are like, whatever, I am moving on and there's more to life than just making this money. I wish I was in that space. I'm not quite in that space. I have too many things that I would prefer to do. And let's just be honest, finance gives me options. And because I'm not in an optional place financially yet, then I still am willing to do what I need to do. But am I about leisure luxury? Absolutely. So in saying all of that, I'm also the person, I don't really go into the work hard, play hard, because I never really got that analogy. Like at some point you shouldn't work hard. Like things should just kind of be. But if that's your thing, then I want you to be conscious of understanding it's just a balance for me. I don't have a dream job, right? When I say that to people, they go like, oh, what do you mean, girl? You got to have a dream job to do all these things. No, I don't have a dream job. My job that would be a dream would be not to have to work, right? But I get the analogy when people say that and they move in a vein of they're doing all of this work and it's so difficult for them to want to remain in it that they play hard. I'm a proponent of finding something that you don't feel like you're working in and find that purpose and then make that purpose drive home the finances. So again, if I'm connecting with someone and they don't necessarily feel that way, then half of my time in trying to communicate with that person would be ridiculous because we wouldn't be able to speak a language that we both could grow from. Does that make sense? So that's what I mean by watching your connection. So hopefully today, this is making sense to you. I really wanted to get on and chat about it because I am really hearing a lot of people staying in things too long. You're just in it too long, and it's not for any other reason than you're just comfortable. And you don't want to assess the connection, and you don't want to really look at it to see if it's really working for you, not if it's working for others or if it's just based on some sense of length of time that you feel like, you just don't want to start over again. Not recognizing that every day that you're communicating with a person who's not moving or growing, or a situation that is grown stagnant and still, right? That you're literally wasting your time and you're not doing this time thing that you think, because wherever you stopped is where it is. So if you stopped really communicating or being pushed by an individual, a circumstance, or a relationship, then whatever year that happened is when the relationship died. Even though you're giving it credit, right? It's almost like you're giving it interest credit for time served that it's not really doing anything. So think on those things. Let me know how you feel in the comments. Always interested to know if you have any connections that you want to talk about. I get it. This channel's private, so I don't really get caught up in any of that, but I do appreciate you all sharing. Of course, I love the emails. I haven't put my email in the last few comments, basically because I forgot. And the other one, I think I started because of the nutrition and then I forgot. So I will do that again if you want to send me emails. If not, if you just want to, talk about me behind my back, girl, guy, feel free. I'm just telling you, keep it going. Share the video, comment if you choose, make sure you like it. Make sure you dislike it. I don't really care. Hit something. Subscribe. I'm absolutely trying to grow to the point where Instagram can't ignore me anymore. So let's go. Let's get it. Let's make it happen. And all that other cool stuff. Otherwise, you know the drill. I will see you on Thursday. Super stoked. We'll find something cool to talk about as always. But in the interim, remember to do 3 things. Live life authentic. Do it no matter what. Regardless of what people think about it, live your life authentic. As always, I'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.